would you say that we have to find our purpose or create our purpose?
I think a bit of both. You don't meditate to become good at meditation. You become better at life the more you meditate. Just asking yourself, what can I appreciate now? When you have a lot of demands coming on your way, it's very easy for you to just become reactive. Yeah, it's only when you connect with yourself, you can then connect with others as well.
And with that said, this whole episode will give you the knowledge and tools to be able to connect with yourself. Bear in mind, it's going to take time and practice. Nonetheless, guys, our guest today moved to the UK 14 years ago to learn English after graduated in communications. She's now the co-founder of the supplement brand Form Nutrition and also a global meditation teacher. We talk about purpose, the process of discovering what you're good at, and why most people approach meditation the wrong way. Also, we talk about breathing practices and techniques to reduce stress. Natalia is kind enough to give us some techniques. She also shares her morning ritual that helps her bring a good quality to her life. Also, we get to learn more about her perspective on supplements and potentially the most important ones to choose from. She flicks my script, guys, and explains why impact is not necessarily correlated to the amount of money one possesses. So, this was an absolutely insightful podcast to say the least. I was grounded both when I've interviewed Natalia and also doing this editing post-production, so hopefully you will be as grounded after listening to what she has to offer, because I'm telling you, she's full of wisdom. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Natalia Bojanic. You are listening to The Grateful Show with your hosts Pascu
and Bogdan. Join us on our mission to spread awareness around mental health and make people feel happier and overall more grateful.
Each week, we bring you an inspiring guest, stories, and a message that will help you become your best self and pursue your life mission.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of The Grateful Show. Hope you are doing fantastic, and if you're not, you're about to be, because today we have no other than Natalia Bojanic. How is it going, Natalia?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very excited finally to talk to you. Just to break the ice, Natalia, what are you grateful for today?
What I'm grateful today. I'm grateful that today is my last day of self-isolating. So I'm looking forward to go and have some human contact, being able to go to the market, buy flowers and all of that.
Buy flowers. That's very interesting to hear, actually.
I know. Well, I live on my own. Flowers are my friends. So, and not being able to buy them and choose them, it's something that I'm missing in my flesh. Luckily, I still have plants. So I'm grateful for my plants as well.
Lovely to hear. Natalia, for our audience that doesn't really know much about you, can you give them like a short, brief introduction into who you are and how you came to be where you are now?
Okay. I will try to be very short. So my name is Natalia. I'm Brazilian. I moved to the UK about 14 years ago, and in a country where I arrived, not really speaking the language, I managed to build a successful career in communications. Currently, I am the co-founder of Form Nutrition, and Form is plant-based with purpose. We do delicious vegan protein and nootropics, and I'm also a global meditation teacher teaching in a corporate space. Was
Brilliant.
that enough?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Lovely story. Going back 14 years ago, what was the reason you left Brazil? Because me and Dragos as well are not from the UK, are from Romania, and we know that it's a bit tough, maybe like less opportunities in countries that are not, let's say, that evolved. But what was your main reason you wanted to move?
Well, I firstly came to learn English, and I thought, if I want to learn English, I have to come, to England because that makes sense. And the main reason is because I had just graduated in communications, and I believed that if I was going to be a good communicator, I need to be fluent on a second language. And in addition to that, I always had a fascination for London and the British culture, and also being in a place where it would be easy for me to travel to Europe. I had never traveled to Europe before I decided to go to Britain. And I thought that would be like an immense opportunity to also expand my culture and just learn.
What made you stay?
What made me stay? I just think like there is like this London bug, and I remember clearly like 6 months. My visa had expired. I was originally just going to be 6 months here, and then I decided no, I have to experience 4 seasons in London, and then I extended my visa for 1 year, and then I met an English gentleman. And then we fell in love, and in a space of 1 year, we became friends. We lived together, and we became engaged, and we got married. And we both realized that getting married was going to be a risk because, in this space of a year, actually 3 months, I was back in Brazil, but it was either going to be that or we would never see each other again. And I was never the type of person who dreamt about getting married, but I am the type of person who is not going to let a piece of paper to define what I want to do with my life. And at that time, that relationship it was what I wanted. I wanted to be with that man. So we got married. We had like 5 very happy years together. We are no longer together, but he has been like fundamental in my life, and he's still like one of my best friends.
That's amazing to hear. I think more than anything, it requires a level of maturity to actually recognize that at the time it was the best thing that you have chosen. And I respect that. Gotta acknowledge you for that. But something very interesting that stood out to me, Natalia, first thing when I actually read more about you was the fact that from telecommunication, you kind of transcendent, if you wish, to the whole wellness space. You became more interested into sustainability, into, I guess, what you guys do at Form Nutrition right now. Was there a moment that made you decide that this is something that you are perhaps more interested towards, or was there multiple things that have conducted you towards this, I guess, area?
I was very lucky to work with luxury brands. And when you work with luxury brands such as Land Rover, Hublot, Dior, you have the opportunity of working with like the best at their fields. In addition to that, with brand ambassadors, my last day as a PR director, I met Usain Bolt. And you get to understand that the reason that people excel at what they do is because they are truly passionate about what they are doing. And I realized that although, I was doing well, it wasn't my passion. It was not where my heart was. And to be fair, I didn't know where my heart was. When I quit my job, I didn't really had a plan. I did save like enough money to be able to sustain myself, because at that stage I was also divorced. So I had no one else to be paying my bills. So I had to pay my bills myself. So I had to save. But I then started to educate myself, and in the process of educating myself into the areas that I was curious about, such as nutrition, such as yoga, such as meditation, such as exercising, and all of that following my curiosity, I realized that the tools that have transformed my life, such as changing into a plant-based diet, it was something that I would like to facilitate to other people to have the opportunity to do. The same way as meditation has really been instrumental to help me manage all these changes in a skillful way, and the way that in spirituality, it was where I found my inner strength. So all these tools that had support me.
You're mentioning that it all started with your curiosity, and then I guess your whole curiosity led you towards educating yourself. So becoming more aware of those things, because the problem with majority of people nowadays that I guess are speaking badly about anything that they do not know is the fact that they are not aware. So there's people that if you tell them that you are vegan, they are going to be like, oh, why would you be vegan? Like, come on, like have a burger, like enjoy this, enjoy that. Or if you tell them that you're actually practicing meditation, it's only been like recent that people actually started being more open to that, because previously it was all just woo stuff for hippies. But right now it seems like people do actually understand that there is potential benefits from that, even for corporate people. So it's very interesting to see this for our audience, that it all started with curiosity, because a lot of people, when they are lost, they don't really know what to do, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I cannot find my purpose. Would you say that we have to find our purpose or create our purpose?
I think a bit of both. And just like to touch on the point that you made about like veganism and also about meditation. I also don't like to say it's just is the other's point of view that it's wrong, but especially being communications and being PR, I also believe that veganism and meditations and spiritual practices, they had like a terrible campaign in the past 10 to 20 years. And the veganism movement, with potentially sometimes coming from a place of anger, coming from a place of judging people that have like different way of living that you have. And I come from family where my grandparents, they have, they have a meat farm, they raise cattle. I come from a family where my dad has a dairy factory. So I try to have a conversation that it comes from a place of compassion for everyone, not only for the animals, not only for the planets, but for everyone who potentially are not in the same journey as you are. And I think that tone of voice is way more inviting than just say, you must be vegan. If you're not, you're a terrible human being. And same thing with the meditation as well. I think sometimes the way that it has been communicated and perceived, it has been, used too much woo-woo-woo, airy-fairy, and not necessarily a practical and effective way of communicating people who have like really busy lives. But coming back to your question about, do you have a purpose or do you find a purpose? As I said, I believe it's a mixture of both. I do think that each one of us have the things that comes naturally to us, that success don't necessarily need to come with a notion of struggle. Sometimes you can do something that you're naturally good at it, that it comes so easily to you. And that's probably where you should be spending most of your time, where you're naturally already a 7 or an 8. And then if you spend more time developing yourself with that gift, with that skill that you have, you can easily become a 9 and a 10. But in addition to that, I don't think the process of discovering what it is that is a skill, what it is that comes naturally to you, it is just unveils to you easily. For some people it does, for some other it requires more time. For me, it did require more time, and it was only through self-awareness, it was only through this process of trial and error, which I believe it's is the process for most of us. Yes, there are a few of us who are very lucky that at the age of 3, 4, 5, know they're going to be musicians. They know they're going to be artists. They know they're going to be doctors. And that's what they do for the rest of their lives. And they are fulfilled with that. For me, it was not the journey. Like, even like going through university, I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then I ended up like doing communications. And that was actually turned to be way better than my plan. And then the same thing, even when I was like changing careers, I did a PT course, and then I did a yoga teacher training, and I did so many things that I was interested about, but it didn't stick. And then the things that it really tests your ability, if that is your purpose in life, it's when you don't give up. So now I can say I'm a global meditation teacher, and I'm very lucky to be teaching in amazing companies and having these opportunities. But it took about like 4 years for me to start, getting paid to do what I do. But I didn't give up because I did believe it felt good, and luckily I had form to pay for my bills, so I could also pursue in my meditation career, which was not easy, especially when you're doing something that is just so close to your heart, and you believe in the power of the practice, and you're not getting the traction that you would like to get, because you always want to be like faster. You always want to be as successful as someone that you're seeing on Instagram or the story that you're hearing. And, in reality, greatness is not built overnight, and it takes time.
So true. Sure. Thank you so much for sharing it, first of all. And talking about meditation, I'm really curious, for someone who, let's say, that is not initiated to this whole new meditation trend, or call it whatever, what would you tell him or her? With what should they begin with if they have no idea about it?
I think the first thing is to manage your expectations. So a lot of people, because of research, because of the hype that there is around meditation, you think as soon as you have a meditation, you probably should be immediately transported to nirvana, a place of total peace and calm. And if that didn't happen to you, you're doing it wrong, and you're not good at meditation, and forget, this is not for me. And this is like, I believe to be like the worst thing. Meditation is a practice, and with anything else that you have learned in life, you didn't become good at day one. And then moving to point 2, you don't meditate to become good at meditation. You become better at life the more you meditate. And this should really be what you should be looking at. It's not about like trying to sit there and stop your thoughts, which is another myth around meditation, but is learning to relate with your thoughts in a kinder and more compassionate way. It's learning how to observe. It's learning how to become aware. It's understanding that there is a space of stillness where you find the stability of mind. And in terms of then, once you went through like these 3 hurdles of like free your minds of expectations, of understanding that meditation, it's not about stopping your thoughts, and that you don't become good at meditation, you become better at life. Then in a practical way, how to start. I tell you, I start meditation through yoga, through like the movements, through the asanas. So being more conscious of my body, aligning body and movement, that was actually preparing my body to sit. And there are an infinite ways of practicing yoga. They are like the really energetic Ashtanga Vinyasa practices, or they are the yin practices, very restorative, very chilled. And again, you have to be your own guinea pig. You have to be the only person who is going to decide what's going to work for you. And then potentially download an app. And there are like so many apps these days that one can use. You can use Insight Timer. Insight Timer, there are content in different languages, different type of practice, and a lot of the content available there is free. Headspace, it's also a very good app. I love Andy. Andy actually was the app that I started 6 years ago. Or you can, depending on how much you're willing to spend, you can have a teacher to do 101, or now you can go at studios as the studios are opened, or you can watch John Kabat-Zinn or master classes, and there are not a lack of content out there.
For sure. There's so many resources, especially on this topic right now. Natalia, I wanted to ask you, what is one event that you are the most grateful for, and why?
Being born.
I don't think anybody has actually answered like that.
No,
I don't think so.
I mean, if you have to put one, that's the biggest event of all, right? Being here right now, having this opportunity of having the human birth and experience is just awesome. The rest is just like a cherry on the cake.
For sure. Can you give us and our audience, let's say, 3 actionable tips that they can implement straight away to become more happier, more mindful, and more present, let's say, if they were just 3 things?
3 things. Okay. The first and the basic one is come back to your breath, right? Your breath is a tool that is available for you 24/7, and it's free. And sometimes by just literally taking 3 breaths, where all you do is just bring your attention to the process of your breathing every time that you breath, growing through your nostrils. And then when it goes out through your mouth or goes out through your nostrils, it doesn't matter the type of breathing, but really focusing for 3 single breaths in the process of breathing. Breath coming in, breath going out. 3 cycles of the breath. I think that's really good to bring your body and your mind to the same space. And then a second one, you would bringing your attention to your environment, and then just asking yourself, what can I appreciate now? What can I appreciate now? So I'm just looking outside my living room, and there is beautiful green, and it's just so lovely to be able to be seeing, right? To have the contracts, the textures, and to have that sense of appreciation for what you have. And then the third one, it's then making both of these things a habit, right? Bringing your mind and your body to the same space by using your breath, and bringing your senses to something that you can appreciate in a moment. And I promise you, as long as you're breathing, there are more good things about your lives than bad. And as long as you're able to ask yourself, what you're able to appreciate at the moment right now, I'm sure you're going to be able to find things where you can divert your attention that will bring you a more uplifting perspective in life.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, if we all could apply those, our lives would change for the better. But talking about breathing and about breathing techniques, there are so many apps right now, and there are so many, techniques. And I'm just curious, what's your take on them? Any method would work, because there is, for example, Wim Hof method and many others. How people should more exactly do breathing exercises, or it doesn't matter?
No, it does matter very much. And, breath work is a science in itself. And there are amazing professionals right there. Actually, I have a friend who is an incredible teacher, Reach Boatstock, the breath guy. And this morning, actually, I did a session with Sage Rad. I think that's his name. He's the founder of Breath Church, and he's amazing as well. I'm not necessarily a breath work specialist. Of course, by being trained in yoga, pranayama, and also in meditation, we do use our breath a lot. But there are techniques that I include in my sessions that are just like so good to bring yourself from anxiety and stress by just extending your exhalations. So when you are like breathing for count of 2 and you breathe out for count of 4, you are actually switching your nervous systems from like the stress response, the fight, flight response, to the restorative response, to where your nervous system is in parasympathetic mode by just simply extending your exhalation. So this is something available for everyone. You inhale through your nose for a count of 2 and you exhale through your nostrils for a count of 4. This is something that is very experiential. And that's what is so powerful about the breath. You don't need to check with anyone if it's working or not. You simply stop, you do it, and you feel a shift instantly.
How long should they do it for?
It depends on your ability, but if you do like for 3 minutes, that can be really good. And like the better you become at this, you can then change, and then you can start inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 6. And then you can go all the way where you inhale for a count of 7 and you exhale for a count of 11. And then you can do that for 10 minutes. Some people do for 30 minutes. But if we're talking about beginners, I think it's very important to start with baby steps and to do something that is easy and is pleasurable for you.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I wanted to ask you, and I think this would give us a very interesting insight into your own life, actually. What's your, let's say, morning routine like, and how do you actually prepare for your day-to-day work? Because I can only imagine that you have so many responsibilities and tasks with Form Nutrition, and not only. And how actually do you actually prepare yourself for a day?
Yeah, you might be surprised that I am not like a freak optimization person. I know that, there is all this biohack, a lot of like trends and people that they do like 100 things before they start their day. And I'm not that type of person, but I do have my day. I do have a ritual, which doesn't take a lot of time, but it is very important, and it does brings a completely different quality to my life. So I wake up and then I drink my water and I go to the loo, I pee, and then I come to my living room where I have a little shrine. And it's where I sit to meditate. So then I'm Buddhist. So I go for blessings and I pray. I pray for my spiritual guides that I like to call like my friends, my invisible friends, that they're supporting me, the invisible hands, making sure I'm safe and secure. So I pay my homage to them. I ask for protections, and then I meditate. I meditate for about 24 minutes, and sometimes the meditation can be anything like just me. We're doing like breath awareness, or sometimes if I'm doing like a retreat and there is a guided meditation from my teacher, and at the moment I'm doing like online retreat, then I listen to a meditation, and that's about it. And then I might have a cup of tea. I do intermittent fasting, so I don't have breakfast. I don't eat, so I don't eat until like 12. And sometimes after meditating, I can do yoga, or I do an exercise. And this is a way of accessing your free pharmacy of feel good hormones. So, but even like with my exercise routine, I'm not like super rigid with it. Nowadays I've been using a Peloton. So I either go on a bike, or I do like a strength class with dumbbells, or I do yoga, and then I work. And that's it. So it's not like crazy coming like, if you're like in the nutrition and if you're in the mindfulness space, it looks like you would do like much more. But I do what I can stick to, and these are the things that I stick to.
That's the most important thing, I think, doing something that can actually stick to long term, because as much as we want to complicate everything and like read and journal and meditate and do breathing and take a cold shower and do this and do that, there's only so much you can do in an actual morning routine till it becomes like a morning afternoon routine and you actually missed half of your day.
Yeah, or then you become overwhelmed by it, right? Yeah. One thing that you mentioned, journaling. Yes, I tend to plan my days in the morning. I do like to just write down like the 3 like game-changing activities for my day, because when you have a lot of demands coming on your way, it's very easy for you to just become reactive. Yeah. Right? You just react to everything that is coming in your way, and you're not really taking time to be creative. So like by just writing what are like the 3 main actions that I have to take on that day and prioritizing that, it makes, and I'm not saying that I do that every day. And sometimes I have days when I'm way more reactive than I would like to be, but it's hard when you have a team and it's a little bit more complicated. As long as it actually is much better when you have a team and you have people that you can delegate to. Yeah. You also have the responsibility of, I don't like to delay people's work. So if this is something that I need to sign off, if that's something that people are relying on my feedback to keep with their working, then I tend to probably give more attention to others than to my own projects.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Natalia, just changing a little bit the subject, because myself, I'm really curious about that. And we know, because you have mentioned that you are in this supplement industry. What would be some or 3 or whatever, how many you want supplements that you would say that are the most effective and also the most important for us?
It really depends on your lifestyle. And I'm not going to say, and the reason that I'm going to say, everyone has to look at the protein intake if you have an active lifestyle. This is important, but you not necessarily need to, I'm not like just trying to self-form here, but protein intake is important, but fiber intake, it's something that people tend to not pay attention to. And fiber is just so important for your gut health, which is directly connected with your brain health. So making sure that you have enough fiber is very important. And then it depends what type of diet that you have. If you are on a plant-based diet, it's important that you are making sure you are having like your B vitamins. Also, depending on where in the country and where in the planet you live. If you live in the UK, making sure you have your vitamin D as well. Supply is really good. Another deficiency that you see commonly in people is magnesium. Yeah. But it would be irresponsible for me to just say, everyone should be having like these supplements, because it's not necessarily the case. And that's why I believe, and this is something that we do a lot at FORM, a lot of what we do is education. So if you go, we have like free courses, we have like daily articles to empower people to make their own decisions, to educate themselves, because nutrition can be very complicated and it's a new science, and each individual responds in a different way. So it's important for you to be your own guinea pig and experiment and see what makes you feel good. And if not, check with health professionals. These days, there are a lot of tests that you can do, like they send to your house, and then you can just like have a look, what are your vitamins and mineral intakes, and see where you need supplementation there.
I really respect your answer. And yes, I think it's very important for everyone listening and everyone in general to actually understand themselves. both spiritually and also physically, because as you mentioned, if you're living into the UK, it's only been like probably the last couple of years that we had summers, because prior there was no summer. Like you wouldn't see a sunny day that often. And vitamin D, it's super important. It's something that people neglect. Also magnesium. I only like recently 2 years ago actually realized how connected it actually is to levels of anxiety and depression and everything that has to do with your mental health. And a lot of people again are not aware of these things. But I wanted to dive into a different subject and actually ask you: do you think that being rich is something selfish or not? And I'm talking about financial rich.
Financial, I don't. I think financial freedom, it's really important for you to have the ability to be generous. And I think it all depends on your intention. You know, if you are coming from a place of attachment, if you're coming from a place where you're clinging to things, hoping that they're going to bring you happiness, you know, that's not necessarily going to be the reality, you know. Otherwise all millionaires or billionaires will be like super happy, and all the people who don't have much in the world would be all miserable. And it's not the case. You find rich people unhappy and you find poor people happy. And you know, to be fair, you know, I visited and lived in different countries such as India, Nepal, and we support a community in the Gambia, and they have been like the most happy people that I found. And the same way I've been with PR and all of that, I've been around a lot of like super wealthy people which don't necessarily were happy. So, and in my own perspective, I do believe and I do seek financial freedom. And this is something that it's important for me, but not to show off, not to just, buy expensive, crazy things, but, you know, so I can help my family, so I can help charities, so I can have a comfortable life where I don't need to worry about things. And that actually allows me to be more creative. That allows me to have peace of mind, to be a better human.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I appreciate you for sharing that. And I think that is only so much impact you can actually have with, let's say, $2,000 or like $200. And there's a whole other impact that you can actually have with much more when it comes to the things that you can do and the things that you can implement and create, as you mentioned.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, you can still have like the $200 and the impact that you have in your family by the values and by how loving you are, by raising your kid. It has a ripple effect, and that's a beautiful thing. And the same way that someone that might have like 2 millions do not do the same and do not have the same impact. I don't think necessarily the money is what responds, but it's actually the intention that you have with the money that it's what is the valuable thing that we should use in that equation there.
Fair enough.
Lovely. Natalia, your journey has been so inspirational, and you have done so many things so far. But I'm really curious, what would you like to be remembered for or as long before you're dead, let's say?
Well, I would like to be remembered for the good that I brought to the world. I would like to be remembered on how I made people feel, on how I helped them connect with themselves, on how I brought elevated vision for their lives through spirituality, and I help them find, you know, their potential and the purpose in life. And yeah, well, that's a lot, isn't it? If I achieve a little bit of that, then it's a life worth living, right?
Definitely, yeah.
For sure.
And I really love how you portrayed it. I mean, a lot of people just want to be remembered for or as this person who has a lot of
possessions.
I don't know, cars or possessions. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is just to have a good impact in this world, isn't it?
Yeah, and how you make people feel, right? And how they laughed after they been in your presence, after they heard what you said, after they some way of somehow were impacted by your actions. And I think if we can all be mindful of that, if we can always act in a place where we are benefiting each other, I think we would be living in a beautiful place. And all of that, and I like to be very clear, all of that doesn't diminish the importance of material things. Yes, you need to have good food. Yes, you need to have, have good, decent living conditions. It's always lovely to have enough to travel, to expand your connection with different countries and culture and all of that. But I just don't think that's fulfilling enough. If the base, if what you're truly nourishing, it's a good heart.
Very powerful. I was just saying that I can't really help myself and just ask you. You've got so many books at the shelves in your back, and I would obviously, it's super cliche to ask what's the best book you've read, because obviously it's super personal and it depends on when you read it. But what would be one book that has helped you shift your perspective on a certain area that you could recommend to our audience?
Gosh, one book. Okay, I'm just gonna say recently, okay, because just one book would be hard. But recently I was reading Mindful of Race by Ruth King. And she's this amazing woman. And I think it's very important that we, white people, we become more conscious of our white privilege. And then we understand that we shouldn't feel awkward, that we shouldn't feel that we don't have a place. We do have a place by making this world more fair. We do have a place in making sure that every single person feels safe, insecure, independent of their color, independent of their hair, independent where they were born. And for me, being a Latina, I understand a little bit, but I'm still white and I'm still a person of privilege. And I believe all of us need to do this training to understand what it is, our unconscious bias, what are the harmful habits that we have, to make sure every single person feels respect, feels that they have dignity in this world. And when they are not being treated that way, that they see us as allies, that we use our presence to help having a more fair place. And yes, that's the latest book. I cannot just say one. It's just because that's
for sure. I think it's super powerful, and I think it circles around our conversation with actually becoming more into the moment, more present, because I truly believe that it all starts with you being more present. And once you are present, you are actually able to understand and correlate your thoughts with your judgment and actually understand what place you're coming from when you're looking at someone of color or someone that is different than you and you're just judging them straight away. I think it's in a sense natural, but in another sense, I do believe that we have the capability to fully cope with that judgment and to maybe provoke it in a healthy way and actually realize where it's coming from. Why are you thinking that way? Why are you feeling a certain way about a certain event or a certain person? And I think it all comes from that presence, from that mindfulness, because again, ignorance is bliss. And the more we ignore and the more we just pretend that we are fine and we are complete and there's nothing to work on, the more this place is not going to become better.
Yeah, it comes from a place, it's only when you're self-aware that you can expand your awareness to others.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's
Completely
only when you,
agree.
it's only when you connect with yourself, you can then connect with others as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Natalia, I mean, of course, it's very subjective, but what would you say that is the meaning of life?
Well, I think the meaning of life, it's to find connection, is to find connection with your higher self, is to be connected with nature, is to be connected with others, and understand that there is no separation, that is like through the self that we find wholeness. And when we find that place of wholeness is when we feel fulfilled. So I believe it's like through caring for ourselves, caring from others, we find the meaning of life.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I actually haven't heard such perspective myself before. And if you think about it, like if you really think about it in simple terms, one easy example that I can give straight away is when I don't take care of myself and I don't sleep well and I'm not rested and I'm not at my 100%, I start becoming reactive. Therefore, I start becoming disconnected with my environment and with the people around me. And I think there's even also a book. I'm not sure of the author's name, but it's called Floss Connections. And it's basically talking about how the whole technology and the whole technological advancement has made us lose connections with ourselves and with everyone around us and with the mother nature as well.
Yeah, I should be reading that book. Thank you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Natalia, just before we ask you the last question, I'm curious, what would you say about this? If you would have the choice to become immortal, would you choose to be or not, and why?
Are you talking about immortality of the body?
Yeah, body, because I guess with the soul, you live forever, more or less, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would like to keep changing clothes. So seeing like the body as, something that is impermanent and something that, you're just changing clothes, and the mind consciousness, it's beginnerless, is endless. It's there. There is no location, there is no orange, there is no destination. You just keep changing clothes. So
interesting.
In a way,
yeah, really nice perspective.
We are already immortal, and as I said, I would like to keep changing clothes.
Nice. Yeah, I think we are just spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we are just making a whole fuss about this world being the actual experience when it's not really, it's just a physical experience. But moving towards the end of our conversation, Natalia, and hopefully our audience has enjoyed it as much as we did, I would like to ask you the last question of the show. Just take your time with it. Basically, you are on your deathbed. You're just minutes before you give your last breath. You've already said goodbye to everyone you love. There's not much left to do. You know that you'll have to go onto the other side. But before you do so, you get to witness the best version of yourself, the version that you could have become. You see that person in the eye. You basically see and comprehend what you could have become. How would you feel about yourself in that moment and about the life that you've lived?
But you're saying that I had lived that life?
You get to choose.
Oh, I get to choose. Well, I hope that in my path that I will be able to look behind and see a person who has shared the tools, the knowledge, the teachings that bring more compassion and wisdom to this world. And I like to leave a legacy that people can access my teachings and become connected with themselves, and as a consequence, connected with others and connected with nature. And that person also becomes his brother, and we have like a positive ripple effect in the world. So I probably will die happily if, that's the person that I'm looking at their eyes.
That's very beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I'm more than sure that you're going to be looking into a mirror.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I think this interview is just going to be a little bit of your whole legacy. Like 50, 120, 200 years ago, hopefully the whole technology will not change that much. So people will still be able to watch these, I guess, digital conversations. But carry on, Bogdan.
Yeah, I mean, just wanted to thank yourself for taking the time to share your story, your ideas, and your mindset, and also the tips that you have shared with our audience. And I'm more than sure that if they would only apply like 1% out of the things that you have said, their lives will become way, way better. And just before we let you go, I'm just going to give you the opportunity to share with our audience where can they find you and how you can help them, and about the home nutrition.
Sure. Well, thank you also very much. I think it's a wonderful initiative, just having something called The Grateful Show that is bringing awareness and encouraging and inspiring people to be grateful. It's just like such a powerful practice that should never, ever be underestimated how powerful it is. So well done for doing that. So thank you. And if people want to learn more about me, they can check me out on Instagram. And it's Natalia Bojanic. So my last name is spelled Bojanic. And if you want to learn more about Form, you can go to our website, www.formnutrition.com. And then you have access to our free courses, to our Inform articles, and to our supplements as well.
Brilliant. All the links will be down into the description, guys. So make sure to check them out, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, they'll be there. And with that said, Natalia, thank you very much for coming on our show. This is Pascu.
This is Bogdan, and you guys stay grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sticking all the way till the end. This shows that you are serious about taking your life to the next level and doing that through a perspective of gratitude. If you enjoyed this interview, it would help us massively if you could give us a 5-star rating or review on iTunes, or else share this on your stories and tag us. This way, with your help, our message will be seen by more people, and together we will make this world a better place.